Good morning and happy Friday. Today, we went into town last night to get groceries and stopped by the post office box. And we got our bus bars. So, I installed those this morning. And we also got the new rectifier. So I installed that as well. So now the power to the hydro generator comes into this rectifier, 3-phase AC. This changes it to DC, and then it comes through here through this circuit breaker, which I have off right now because the hydro generator is not on, and into my solar charge controller. I do not have this hooked up to the battery right now, but I've got extra cables in here to do that when I'm ready. But that just draws more power. So once I get some solar panels and the hydro turned on, I'll plug this up to the battery to help it charge. We got our 2 batteries down here in parallel. I've gone over that in a previous video. But these bus bars are new. This is the cord that used to go to the camper, and I cut the end to hook it directly up here. And so now that I have the bus bars, I just cut the cord a little further down, put those on the bus bars, and you see we have 2 more wires on the bus bar. So one of those comes up here and comes out here. So this is a 30 amp plug, and this is what the camper plugs into. So I redid it's a little bulky because I had to use my 6-gauge wire caps, but I wired this back up to the camper so it's got its regular 30 volt or 30 amp plug, and I can plug it and unplug it right there. So that's coming on the output side. On the input side, we have this big thick cable here. This is the one that goes all the way down to the hydro generator at the other side of the dam. So that's one input option, and the other one is this 30 amp plug. I found an extension cord, so I cut that in half, and I used 1/2 to the bus bar as a input on the other side, and I used this plug on this side. So now when I want to have big circuits or a lot of amps drawn, I just take this right from my power box, plug it right into my generator. And this is another thing we found out this morning, which is really nice. I'll show you. I screwed this on and the rectifier and these 3 new bus bars. So that's about the only change to my electrical box here. And I put on these wire holders on the outside there and the outside there to keep things organized. And I put one more inside here. You can see the hook there. This bag has a whole bunch of extra electrical stuff, and I don't want to just throw it on the batteries. So I installed that hook there so I can just hang my electrical bag. It's not sitting on anything, it's hanging. And I can still close my electrical closet. So the only thing I want to check, because I'm going to be turning on this generator and showing you what it's used for, is make sure my inverter is off. So that's on, that's off. It's not even connected to the battery right now anyway. I've got the circuit breaker shut off there. So that means that the inverter is not on, which is what I want because I'm going to be using this generator. So we got the big generator set up. We got the plug into the 30 amp 120 volt plug. And now the fun part. inside the camper. We just come in here to our remote for the generator. And we hit the start button. There, you can hear the generator has started. So generator started, I heard the microwave beep. That means we have power in here. So that's good. You notice my portable air conditioner that was taking up so much space right there, had this open window with the hose going through it, is gone. And that's because this air conditioner works. So we come over here to our thermostat, and it's off right now. Just turn it to cool. And with the generator plugged in, it blows really cold air. It cools it down quick in here. And the best part about it is it also has these vents. So this vent points over towards the window seating area here. This vent points towards the window where Duke's bed is. This vent is just for the hallway. And I have a vent in my bedroom back here. And all these blow cold air from the same AC. And this AC is more efficient than the portable one I was using, which did not circulate the air very well. So, very nice improvements for today. But that's it for the electrical closet. I might work on the solar panels later today, but we'll see how that goes. It's just about 11 a.m. and it's already feels like 101. And it's sunny and hot out today. We're still in a heat advisory until 7 tonight. But I've already installed one solar panel on top of here. It's my biggest one. And even being in the shade, it's putting out about 20 watts in the shade. So this side of my hill is really sunny and it's facing south. So I've got a whole bunch of extra solar panels. That's one of them. I've got 4 of those here, and I think I got another 2 in the storage shed. So my thought process is to clear a bunch of the shrubbery. So I got my weed whacker, safety glasses, and pruners. I was thinking I could get 4 of these on one 8-foot 2x4 and just screw down the top and stake it into the ground somehow. But I measured it, and between the holes, it's like 26 inches between the center of the holes. So I can only fit 3 per 2x4, which since I have 6, that might work good. I'll just make 2 layers of it. So I need to measure how long it is and then trim enough weeds and brush to count for 2 of those. So I'm going to get out the GoPro, set that up, and I guess that one will probably be a sped up video or a time lapse or something. So that's my next project right now, hopefully before it gets too hot. It's 11 a.m. right now. Alright, we've got the camera set up. I got my phone out instead of the GoPro because my phone, then at least the videos are right on my camera. I decided I'm going to weed whack first, and then anything that's too big for the weed whacker, I'm going to get my pruning shears out. So we're going to go ahead and start. Always make sure to get your eye protection and your sweat rag. And hopefully I can start this weed eater, because last time it was very difficult. Alright, everything else I think is too big for the weed whacker. I really didn't want to turn that off because when I was starting it, I pulled the handle off my string. So I'm going to have to take that apart and pull the string out and put it back in my handle. If I can find the handle. I think the knot just came undone because there's no rope in there, but yet another project. So, done weed whacking for now. Time for the pruning shears. All right. I think that is a big enough spot for a bunch of solar panels. There's one. You can tell everything's been trimmed before, but they're just kind of growing. There's this big stump here. I might go get my saw and cut these too. But everything else looks pretty clear. Okay, let's go get the saw. It is hot out. I keep a saw and pruning shears in the back of my truck. And occasionally, when I ever go to town and go up and down my road, I just stop and cut some branches because there's a lot of parts of the road that can use some shrubbery maintenance. And it's just, you do a little here, a little there, and before you know it, it looks pretty good, and you don't scrape up your truck nearly as much. Alright, let's put you back. Alright, I'll be working in that area right there. Got my trusty foldable saw. This thing works pretty good if you're ever in the market for one. This is what I just pulled out. You can see like 3 fresh cuts, but there's been a whole bunch of other cuts. So previous owners have been trimming things, but not doing it right. Alright, I think these two are the last ones that require handsaw. Now we have a flat spot. So we'll take down our first solar panel and lay it down there and see what it looks like. And then do 2 rows of 3 is my plan. There's one. Excuse me. The reason you hear a zipper is these solar panels are EcoFlow, and they come in little traveling case. So you just open up the case, take out your solar panel. All right, we have our first row of 3. Oops. Our first row of 3, and I think the next row of 3 will fit right below that. And then I'm going to get a 2x4 to screw these down. They have eyelets in the corners, so I don't want it sliding down the hill or blowing away. So going to get 2 8-foot 2x4s to hold the 2 rows, and then we'll wire them up. So I have to go up to the storage shed to get the other 2. I've got one more here, but I got to go dig out the other 2. So, and then I'll come back with some 2x4s. So that's it for this video. All right, I went up to the storage shed. I think this box has 2 more of these because they come in pairs. And I had 3 EcoFlows, and I found 4 panels, so I'm assuming this box has the other 2 that are just like this. I still need to get the 2x4s. Those are up here where I found the pack rat under my wood supply. I have plenty of 2x4s, but nothing's ever quick and easy. You gotta take off the brick, undo the tarp, look for pack rats. That board we shouldn't need. We'll see if we can carry 2 at a time with one hand while holding the camera. There we go. Duke likes to just follow and watch along, staying in the shade at all times. Alright, so my plan is to hook each row up in series. These are, I think, 220 watts. Yeah, 220 watts per solar panel. So if I hook them up in series, that should be 2 times 3, 660 per row. I don't want to do any more than that because I don't know how much voltage and amps these wires can handle. So my plan is to hook up one row in series and the other row in series. And then after Duke and I chased the pack rat to this junk pile, we found a big green extension cord. Right here. So it's not in the newest shape, but I'm going to use this once I hook those solar panels up. I'm going to use that to run the power up to my utility power closet right here. And I don't have a bus bar yet for my DC voltage. So for now, I think I'll just wire everything and electrical tape it. But we'll show you more on that once I get that far. So, next step is to get out the other 3, lay them in front of that wood piece, screw these down, hook them up in series per row, get that green extension cord up there, and run the power from solar panels to power closet. So that's the next step, and I will set up the camera shortly to watch that. Alright, quick update. Got the boards laid out, got all my solar panels down. That one box which I put over by the garbage, had one solar panel, this one here. So I guess this one solar panel is 220 watts. These other ones I imagine are smaller. But since I had room for an extra one, rather than putting that on top of my shady electrical closet, I brought it down here. And what I did here was I hooked up in series, negative, positive, and then I should be able to hook up the two ends, and that should increase the voltage. But I tried that on these bottom ones, and my EcoFlow didn't even register any voltage. So I unplugged it from the end one and plugged it just into this one solar panel. And that right now is generating, oh, the frame rate's bad on this, but 287 volts right now just from this one panel. But if they're not working in series, that means I might have to wire them all up in parallel, which will give me more amps but less voltage. I gotta do some Google searching on that one. It's so hot out, I just brought a lid to shade this thing. I was curious what one solar panel brings in. That's so much more than my hydro generator, and that's just one, so this might actually work out good. I have noticed these big old trees are shading these ones, so I might have to lower my solar panel array both rows down a little bit, or scoot them out to the side here where it's still sunny, just so they get the most sun during the day. But first things first is I just need to get it working. I did bring up my extension cord here, and as expected, it's in rough shape. I have to plan where my stuff goes, because here, let's see, where was it? There's a couple spots right here. Rodent chewed up that spot. It's almost all the way chewed through, so I could just rip that apart. And then there was another spot. Here's a rough spot. It's got a bunch of nicks and dings, but as we go further down this cable, there's another rough spot. That one's chewed pretty good. So I'm gonna have to go through this whole cable and just find sections of good cable that are long enough to go from here to here. And I imagine that's only like 30 feet for one and 40 feet for the other. So there should be a couple good sections in this long extension cord, and I'll just, if I have to, I can split it and rewire things, but I would rather not do that. So got my tools here ready to screw in these to the boards and do some wiring. But first I got to do some Google searching and find out why it's not working, hooking them, 3 of them up in series, because I would have expected that to work. So I guess I will record again once I find an answer to that and come back with a solution. Alright, we're back. I did some Google searching, and you can hook them up in series like I thought. I hooked these 2 up in series and plugged them in, and right now we're getting 37 volts. It's cloud. There's a big cloud in the sky, but we were over 200. We were close to the same amount as this one big solar panel. So I think what happened was when I plugged all 3 of these in series, it was more than the allowed. Max voltage is 65 volts. So I've been saying volts this whole time, but that's actually watts. So we have 37 watts input on a cloudy day from those two. We were getting about 260, and this was about 270 on a sunny when the sun's out. But I got my voltmeter out and measured just this one solar panel. And it's right now on the clouds, it's 39 volts. It was around 50 volts when the sun was out. So I think what happened was when I had all three of these in series, it was too much voltage and this EcoFlow battery couldn't handle it. So I think I can still hook things up in series, maybe just these two in series, parallel, those two in series, and parallel. But fortunately for me, I went up to the storage shed and was looking for these other pigtails. So these plug into the solar panels and the EcoFlow. And I want to use these because I can easily cut into these red and black wires. I know which is red and positive. They're not shielded like these, and I don't want to ruin... I want to ruin as few solar panels as possible. So I want to use as many connectors as I can. So I have 3 EcoFlows, 2 of which also don't buy EcoFlow. Those batteries die. Buy the Jackeries. The Jackeries work way better. So I have 2 dead EcoFlows, and this is my last surviving one, and it couldn't even run a coffee pot. It used to be able to, but it won't even power 700 watts for a coffee pot. So these are from those 3. I don't know where my 4th one is, but fortunately, as I was foraging up in my storage shed, I was a prepper. And I bought a long, heavy-duty extension cable and some pigtails to hook things up in parallel. So each one of these has 4 inputs on the negative side and the positive side. 4 inputs apiece. And then it has a big thick cable here and a big thick cable here that I can run through this big thick cable. So my plan is, without having to splice a whole bunch of wires and use this questionable wire, I'm going to hook 2 in series, 1 in parallel. So series, parallel, series, parallel. That gives me 4 parallel inputs, which I just happen to have here in pigtails. And then those go to this thick positive and minus cables that hopefully this will reach from the top of here to my electrical closet. And I still haven't screwed these things down yet. I'll probably record all that on camera. Probably about now. So let me get this set up, and next video we'll start working. Okay, I think we're good. Now you can see my work table and all the solar panels are out there. Earlier I staged my drill and screws. So I'm going to go ahead and screw all these down to the 2x4s right now. All right, the sun is back out. I forgot my sweat rag. But those two panels in the sun is like 286 watts. I haven't measured the voltage, but it's a lot of watts. Whew. Everything's getting really hot. I need to slide these panels down closer so I can connect all the connectors. Yes, I almost biffed it. I missed a tree stump. That guy. That's what I tripped on. I accidentally stopped recording there. Hit a button on my phone. Okay, back to work. I found my fourth connector I was looking for. I was using it. something doesn't look right. Actually, because I have 4 of them in parallel, that doesn't increase the voltage. We were at 23. All right, yeah, 23 volts. When I measured just one, it was more than that. I guess I should be measuring watts or amps. Or maybe one of these has a circuit breaker that doesn't allow more than so many. Okay. Just got lightheaded there in the heat. Maybe this has a lower voltage but more watts or more amps. I should go and test just one and see what just one does. Okay, let's measure just one. .75 volts. So we might be close. I need to measure amps. All right, my voltmeter has a 2 amp max. I don't know if that's the problem. All right. So the voltage is lower. Hopefully the amps is higher. I think I just wire this into the solar controller. And maybe that'll tell me how many watts I have. So that's my next step. The wire doesn't quite reach there. So I've got to split these and use some of this and wire that to my electrical closet. And hopefully we will be generating solar power. But that's a lot of work, so I'm going to stop this video and I'll record with an update. Alright, quick update on progress so far. We've got these two connected in series to a parallel. This one going to the parallel pigtail. These two in series going to parallel pigtail. And this one going to the parallel pigtail. So 1, 2, 3, 4 going into the positive pigtail, and same thing with the negative pigtail. So because they're in parallel, it should be more amps and need a thicker cable but less voltage. So these cables here are actually pretty big. But they were not long enough to reach my shelter. So the electrical closet, what I did was I cut off some good pieces of this. There was a lot that the mice had chewed up there. Just nicks and dings there. So I found 2 good sections. But what I did was, this cable was so much thicker than one of these, I just wired all 3 together. So I'm using 3 wires in this one cable as one wire. So this is my positive. I wrapped it through the input ventilation here, through my circuit breaker. It's just wired in for now until I get I need more bus bars, but until I get my bus bar, I just cut this wire and split it and put this as an input before my circuit breaker. So I turn that off, no power is coming in. So that's the plus. And then the negative, I did the same thing. I found a good section that was long enough to reach the electrical closet and stripped those ends and wired them all together with a 6-gauge cap. So the negative comes in, and I don't have a bus bar for that either. So for that one, I just wired up the negative right to my solar charger, where the negative from the hydro also plugs in there. So now we have positive and negative to the solar charger. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this one wire just isn't big enough for all the amps that are coming through these 3 wires. I just don't know if I want to wire this directly up to my solar charger without a circuit breaker. But this is now connected to my battery so it can charge. If you see here, 0 amps, 78% battery, 5.1 volts are still coming in somehow. But if we switch this on, we should get some voltage input. Here we go, 20 volts input, 0 amps. So I don't know if this thing thinks my battery is full, and so it's 0 amps. I don't have my load plugged into this. I have my load plugged in directly to my batteries. So maybe that's why it thinks there's 0 amps. But this solar charge controller I have not had good luck with yet. And every time I plug, like when I connected these wires here to this solar charger, I got a big old spark, which you're not supposed to get, especially when you have your circuit breakers closed. So I'm not convinced that everything is perfect on this solar charger yet. It does show 20 volts input, but no amps. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. I'll do some Google searching. It's just cloudy enough and it's starting to rain, so I've got a bunch of tools and cleanup stuff I need to do before everything gets wet. So I'm gonna stop the video and do that now. Alright, quick update. Rainstorm came through. We're still a little cloudy right now. But last I left, I was getting about 23 volts and 0 amps up at my electrical closet. I finally wired up the load to come from the solar charger into the inverter, and that didn't help. So then I was looking online and it expects around 48 volts. And I only had about 20 or 23. So I came back over here, and instead of having these two in series, those two in series, and having 4 parallel inputs, I went ahead and connected these two that were already in series into this one in series. So now the top row is 1 input and the bottom row is another input. And that is working better because I come over here to my solar charge controller and I can see 1.1 amps is input, 53 volts. So that's kind of what it's looking for. I ran my coffee maker, which I know is around 750 watts. This thing doesn't have watts anywhere, but it does have, here we go, load output. Right now it's 0 because nothing's really running right now. But when I plugged the coffee maker in, the output was 0.7 amps. So this 1.1, 1.2 should be more than enough to run a coffee maker. And I'm also looking on here, battery, 1.5, 1.4 amps, 52.4 volts, 1.5 amps. So I think this is charging the battery. I have to do more monitoring, but I think the solar is working. But since it expects 48 volts, it's a 48 volt system. I'm wondering if maybe that's why I was struggling with my hydro generator. Because I have the rectifier, which changes it from AC to DC, but I have nothing to regulate the voltage at all. And I guess with solar panels, you can kind of have a steady voltage, but based on the amount of sun, increases or decreases the amps. So I might need to look into a different charge controller specifically for my hydropower that will take alternating current and turn it into 48 volts. But it got really hot and humid. I am just sweating up a storm. So I think this is it for the power box for right now. I'm going to go ahead and let this charge controller do its thing. I kind of wanted to try the AC with the solar panels working, but my limiting factor is this inverter, which is limited to 2500 watts. I think the AC takes more than that, because last time I tried the AC, this thing shut off with the overload when running on battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video, check my app, see if the battery monitor is working. Last time I had it in this configuration where the load goes through this solar charger, it really threw this battery monitor out of whack. So I'm gonna stop the video, check that, and see how that's working. And then we'll go from there.